It was August of 2007, and it was a Monday night. And I remember uh, Rob and Delinda, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, were over at the house, and we were just talking that night. Didn't take the opportunity to watch the news or do our normal ritual of watching the weather that night, and didn't think much of it. Just a normal night. I woke up at Tuesday morning at my normal time at 4:30 in the morning for my workout, and I noticed that it had been storming the night before, but hadn't really thought that much about it. It was just a thunderstorm. It had just been raining, even though it did seem pretty hard. As I got ready for my workout, I leave the house with my gym bag, and I go outside. This little side part of this story was that we had just gotten a new driveway put in, a concrete driveway put in a couple weeks earlier, and we were parking out in our street. My brand new truck, it was 3 months old, first time I'd ever had bought a truck, and my wife's vehicle was less than a year old. It's the first time in our marriage and in our relationships, or in my life, that we had ever had bought brand new vehicles. And so I go out to get in the vehicle, and I noticed that the water from the street, whether the street had been flooded, but water was halfway up the driveway. As I get to my car, my truck, I started to panic because I saw that the water was past the bottom of the vehicle, and looking over at my wife's vehicle, which was lower to the ground, it was exactly what I was afraid of. Water had gotten on the inside of that vehicle. Remarkably, it had started. I brought it into the garage. At this point, I was not concerned about the driveway anymore, and then I pulled my truck in as well. I don't know for sure what I did at that moment besides panic, and I attempted to start cleaning out the car, getting the dry wet vac up. Uh, what proceeded to later was that I had to bring the vehicles to the body shop. Found out later that the vehicles were both totaled. Later in the week, I my wife was getting ready to go out of town for the weekend, and I look up, and that there was water coming from the ceiling. The drywall was sagging down. Two vehicles were totaled. I had water not only in the basement of the building that I was there in our house, but water in the bottom of the building where the business was in the condo. The following week, I had one of my key employees decided to go return back to the schools when I had just had gotten a program that now I didn't have an employee for. I remember a week later waking up at I think it was like 2 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday, and my mind was racing with all the different things. What else could happen? What other thing can happen? And in this midst of me trying to figure out what can I do, how can I try to figure this out? How can I somehow stop another thing from happening? Needless to say, I would only get so far in my thinking, and it felt like I would then loop back to the beginning and start going over the same thoughts, maybe with a couple added things. In the midst of this mind racing that kept going, and of course laying there now at 3:30 in the morning, trying to figure out what was going to come next and how was I going to pay for these things, how are we going to be okay. I remember noticing, almost like a blimp. You know how like those blimps are, where the digital sign comes across? There was this sign, this imagery in my mind's eye with my eyes closed. I saw, humble thyself in the sight of the Lord, and he will raise you up. And it went again. Humble thyself in the sight of the Lord, and he will raise you up. My first thought was, humble? I'm broken. How could I not be more broken right now, God? Little did I know it probably could be, but what it dawned on me is that I may have been broken, but I wasn't being humble. I was still trying to fix this. I was still trying to figure this out. True, I had my part that I had to play. I had certain things that I needed to do that I was responsible for. But this idea of trying to control outcomes and trying to manage everything, I needed to humble myself to that idea, to something greater than myself that I call God, so that I could let go of those things that I can't control and only focus on the things that I could control. In the midst of seeing that, in the midst of realizing that I wasn't humbling myself, that I was playing God in this scenario, I let go. And probably the first time in a week, I had a momentary of peace and slept for a remaining hour and a half to 2 hours. When I woke, I remembered that peace that I had and remembered that what I need to do is the things that I can do, and then humble myself to let go of the things that I can't.